Still
Recording in progress.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It is 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the September 18th business meeting of Narberth Borough Council to order. Let's proceed to the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Sampson.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Manager, will you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Bush?
Here.
Ms. Rickards is absent. We have Councilmember Winston.
Here.
Councilmember Borough.
Here.
Councilmember Spear.
Here.
Councilmember Gaudini.
Here.
Councilmember Simonson.
Here.
And Mayor Andrew Page.
Okay, I have no comments this month. Ms. Deutsch?
Just a real quick update, just a reminder, the cameras for the school buses are now in service. So if the arms are out and you pass it, you are subject to getting a ticket. That's up to $300. We have, to date, it's my understanding, there have been 10 tickets issued. Hopefully people will get the message and will stop when the arms are out and in all directions to make sure the kids get to and from school safely. So just a reminder, and hopefully, yeah.
Is that 10 tickets in Narberth or in the school?
No, that's in the
School
district.
Oh, no. It's
No.
200 in Lower Marion and then 10 in Narberth.
Oh, is that 10 in Narberth?
Wow.
Okay,
Wow,
wow.
I guess
Where's
they
that
need
money
those
go?
cameras.
Were those warnings or this or
We're splitting it
We
with the
might
school
go,
district, I think.
yeah,
$300 citation.
300? Okay.
yeah. Oh, that's just in.
It's not
that's
really
just in
how the
Narberth.
borough wants to be.
10 in Narberth.
10 in Narberth, okay, well, good.
It's a
Where's
no.
that money go?
Let's slow down and everybody pay
phenomenal.
attention. Get off your phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, good, all right, even better. Thank you for correcting. Okay.
All right, thank you, Mayor Deutsch.
All right.
Jobs.
So the big exciting news is we have a new website. It went live on September 5th, and I hope you've all taken a chance to look through all the new snazzy fonts and features that we have. So we're very excited that it is up and running. So big kudos to Kelsey, who was a primary lead on this project. And thank you as well to all of the feedback that council members gave us in the intermediate process as we were working on it. Mike, particularly, thank you for all of the web mapping feedback on that. So that's great, and we're very excited to have that. So we'll continue to add content to it and tweak it and make it even better for our residents to use. The other thing I want to announce is that we have the town hall for the Narberth Avenue Bridge. That's scheduled to take place later this month on September 30th. That's a Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. and it's going to be here in the multi-purpose room. So we will also be recording this on Zoom for folks who can't make it in person, but we do encourage folks to come in person if you can. Just better acoustics and audio in the room if you're there in person, and just a great opportunity to ask questions.
And that'll be the contractors for the bridge explaining how the process is going to work.
That's correct. So we have all of
next
our
few years.
consultants and contractors. So we have our design engineers, we'll have our architect, we'll have a PennDOT representative, and we will have the contractor themselves present to give their overview of the different projects, pieces of the project, so a little bit of the history, the background, and then talking through the schedule of events as well.
Excuse me, when's the,
We'll get to it in just a moment. We'll let you know when the public comments on the agenda next.
okay.
Couple other things I wanted to point out. We did have an illicit discharge on September 3rd, so there was a grease spill behind the philosophy. So we did take care of that and we reported that to DEP, so we should be covered under that. That is something that will have to go into our MS4 reporting. So I did alert Tony and Eric to that as well when that happened. And then, let's see, the Montgomery Avenue corridor, Safe Streets for All, we did have a preliminary on that. I just met with Brandon Ford today, so that is going to be progressing forward. So we hope to have that before elected officials in October and then before the public in November. So we're making progress on that, and that should be before you soon. And we discussed this briefly in F&A, but I just wanted to point out that we have the Stormwater BMP project from 2022 that was funded in part by the county transportation funds. We never actually closed that out previously, so we've got all of the documentation in, and so we're looking at a refund. Sorry, Mike, not 89, it was $86,772 of county funding will come back to us. Unearmarked, so it's essentially like ground money. So that's great, so we have a nice little windfall there. And then otherwise, just kind of chipping away at the budget. We are in full swing now with budget season, so looking forward to presenting that first draft to you at our upcoming work session on the 7th.
Yep, and that'll be an unusual time for that work session, just so we don't conflict with the Jewish holidays. So that'll be Tuesday, October 7th?
Tuesday at 6 p.m. is the work session, so it's 6 to 8 p.m. We do have a hard stop that day because we have another meeting at 8 p.m. that evening, so it's the Shade Tree Commission will be meeting right after that.
We do anticipate that pretty much it'll be the budget discussion that will take up that meeting, so
Yes.
unlikely to be other items. There may be other items of business, but that'll be the main item of business.
Yes.
The initial budget discussion, the actual, it'll be an ongoing process, the budget votes will be later, this will be the initial presentation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to have public comment. Just 1 second while I set up here. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. So once we start public comment, you may stand up, you may give your name and your address, and then you may begin your comment. And let me get my... Okay, so anybody in the front row wish to make public comment? Go ahead, stand up and...
My name is Zachary Katz. I've been in Narberth for maybe around like 10 years. Okay, 2006 if you include my parents' separation for a year with my father's job. What I have a concern is the town finances. The way, do you mind if you can let me go a little extended? I just want to say my piece and be done with. What I have an issue is that, and I know I have seen it around, they don't call me the town watchman for nothing. The town has put in a lot of finances, and what the concerns are is where something like when I was in the circle, you know that circle where the train station is? Point being, I went to go ahead and I saw an individual from the board come in and they basically said they were going to convert that to a park. That doesn't make logical sense. Like that, they're going to get rid of the parking and then the town has money to put on the bridge, but they hire someone and then with the mom and pops, the person, whoever is running it for 10 years is not doing anything. It's sitting there rotting to this day, and this is not fair to me, this is not fair to other people. Narberth is like Mayberry from Sheriff Andy Griffith reincarnated. It should stay that way, it should not be modified, so correct. And I just want to know, what's the financial situation here? What are we going to do? Are we going to fix the bridge? Are we going to fix those old mom and pop stuff? Or they're just going to sit there till the end of time?
You finished your comment?
Yes.
Okay. I can, if you want to learn more about the plans for the bridge, as Manager Dobbs said, there's going to be an open house at the end of the month where our contractors, September 30th.
September 30th at 6 p.m. or 6:30, I'm sorry.
So we have a contractor lined up to take down the current bridge and put up a new one. It's going to be a multi-year process, and they will tell the community all about it, and probably have some pretty pictures at that meeting on the 30th.
It's also reimbursable expenses.
Yeah, all of that money is currently being covered by the federal government. So the borough had to pay for some of the design, but at this point going forward, almost the entire cost is going to be covered by the federal government. So the borough will not be out of pocket for the bridge, the new bridge project.
Okay. And let's address one thing at a time. The bridge is one thing, I believe the mom and
So,
pop.
Zach, public comment is when you say your statement, and
Yes.
they'll give you a little bit, but it's not a call and response. If you have further questions, there'll be other meetings on the budgets, and you're welcome to sit in and watch and learn.
Yes.
But public comment is a set,
It's a
set
limited-
thing. Limited thing.
Yes, I understand. That's all I just had to say. Continue.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else in the room wish to make public comments? All right, go ahead.
Hi, Joe Stratton from 402 Dudley Ave in Marlborough. Just two observations. One, the new website, bravo, it is really fantastic. Thanks for all the hard work that went into it. One thing that's different than the prior website is that it's hard, I'm not sure where to find the dates of upcoming meetings unless they have an agenda. So I wonder if there's a way, like in the old one, I could see when the upcoming public safety meetings were each month, and I don't see that readily available, so I just wanted to share that observation.
Just a quick point of clarification, do you mean just to have somewhere to say meets every, third Thursday of the month?
Correct.
Something
Or
that just states the general recurrence of that event?
that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Or in the prior website, it would just show, this is September, it would show October's meeting date, November's meeting
Next
date,
meeting.
December's meeting date.
Okay.
Either way would be wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And the other,
Joe, just
yes.
one question. Were you looking on your phone or on the computer? Okay, because there's a little bit of optimization difference between the two.
Okay, I couldn't
that
find
we're
it
trying
on the
to figure
laptop
out.
either.
Okay,
But if it's there, please
okay.
let me know.
I mean, so we do have all of the events on the calendar itself, but
Yeah.
you're looking for something a little bit more,
I found it hard to
Concise.
go to the calendar to look like when's the public safety meeting in November.
Actually, there's a link on the homepage. If you say view full calendar, then it'll take you to the larger calendar, and then you can see all of the meetings that are listed.
Wonderful. Problem
I
solved.
know, I had made that mistake too. I thought it didn't exist.
oh,
Thank
okay,
you.
okay. Yeah, so there's a small calendar that doesn't have the event details, but if you open the full calendar, then you'll see the actual title for each of the events.
Beautiful.
But to your point, we can also add something that just has a little quick blurb like, council work session is the first Thursdays of the month. Just something like that to have in writing to reference as well.
I think that might be helpful.
Thank
But
you.
there's also a search bar in the calendar.
Yes,
So I just typed in, public health and it showed all the dates for that.
yeah, so many ways that you can go about finding the information.
Thank you. Second observation, real quick. The traffic safety kind of changes on the 200 block, I believe, of Price Avenue, with the extra spaces. I think they're working really, really well. As someone who walks, cycles, and drives on that block, I think it's easier to transverse without having to play the kind of dodge back and forth. So I just wanted to share that observation. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. All right, anything else in the room? Let's move online. If anybody online wishes to make a public comment. All right, do we want to call on people? I see two hands up, so. All right, Kevin, I see your hand up. You may go ahead, unmute yourself, give your name and address, and begin your public comment.
Sure, thank you. So thank you, everyone. My name is Kevin Bogniak. I live at 106 Forest Ave. I'm new to Narberth. I have a pretty simple question. I know that parking permits are hard to come by, or you cannot get them in the central neighborhood, and that makes sense to me in that, of course, there's a lot of commerce downtown. We want people to be able to park and visit the shops and restaurants. I was talking to my landlord, and she just suggested this has been a topic in the past years, and I should bring it up at this meeting. If there may be any future potential for parking permits in the central neighborhood, not even necessarily in the neighborhood, like the core neighborhood itself, around the surrounding area. I was just curious the team's thoughts.
So can you clarify, you're in an area right now that has the parking meters, is that right? You're in the metered parking area?
No, I'm like the 100 block of Forest Ave, so in the central neighborhood. Oh, yeah, sorry, it is metered, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we have not discussed, we've never given out parking permits to anybody in the districts with parking meters, as far as I know.
Kevin, are you aware that we added some parking spaces on Haverford that are not metered, like right basically in front of us and a couple of other places. So we tried to create some spaces there for potential residents. who were.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do appreciate those too. I was just being in the neighborhood. I didn't know if there's a fill up, if in the winter time it'd be more difficult to come by. So I know I'm kind of throwing a shot in the dark, but I was just curious if there'd be any future plans for permits, even permits, further north too. So just curious.
There's also permits available for Sabine parking lot. You can purchase.
It's a little further from.
It's
pretty
far.
That's pretty far.
Yeah, it is far, but,
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned like further up north, that's further.
Thanks, yourself.
All right, thank you. We can definitely ask our manager if there have been other requests for similar accommodations, and if there have been, we can consider.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, we have had some people come in who are requesting on-street parking permits who are, per our policy, ineligible for a parking permit because they live on a metered street. But that is something that we can evaluate. Just, thinking kind of logistically the things that we have coming up for the rest of the year, I think this is something that we can maybe tackle next year, is to kind of take that look at the parking permit process kind of writ large and see if there's ways that we can improve it. Because I know that we had done improvements or updates to the parking policy last year, and I think we're kind of now seeing the outcome of that. So I think there's additional ways that we can further optimize this based on some of the things that we're hearing from residents. So we can look into what a revised policy might look like.
Yeah, see if we have enough capacity in some of these zones that we could fit some extra residents.
So we can take a look at capacity, and we can take a look at the number of permits that we've issued in 2025 for those neighborhood zones.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I think we're about to pull them off. So, iPhone, is that Carol Marie?
Yes, it is. Carol Marie's County, Sabine Avenue. So Fred, last month you had mentioned that there was a second school that was interested in the old Narber School, and you would let us know if that was a viable option. Is that a viable option anymore, or still? And my next question is, what is the status of the appraisal or development assessment for the Montgomery Avenue side, which is the Sabine Park side?
Yeah, we still have not proceeded with the assessment. We've been working on other things, and we are just this month signing up the new property manager for the site.
You had mentioned it was going to go out in October. Is that still a plan, or what is the timeline?
We will discuss it in a public meeting when we're ready. There's no current timeline, and there is no further, I would say, serious interest. We've not received any other serious interest in the site. So there's no real news. We've been focusing on other things as a council.
All right, and so there is no specific timeline for having the appraisal or the assessment done on the park side?
No.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Carol Marie. Is there any, I don't see anybody else online. All right, I'm going to declare public comment closed. Let's move to the consent agenda. I will take a motion to pass consent agenda items A through E at this time.
I move to approve consent agenda items A through
E. F is off the agenda.
Oh, that's right. A through E. Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion about the consent agenda? So item F will come back to us at a later time. All right. Let's vote on consent agenda items A through E. All those in favor? All right, it is unanimous. Let's move to consideration items. 9A is the capital improvement plan.
I move that Borough Council adopt the 2026 to 2030 capital improvement plan.
Second.
Okay. Maggie, are there significant changes since we last saw this?
No changes, so I didn't receive any other comments or feedback. So what we presented last month is what you have before you this evening. So this will capture all of the proposed capital projects that we look to implement in 2026 and through the year 2030.
And just as a reminder for members of the public, this is not a funding document. These are goals, these are things the borough would like to accomplish, but in order to actually do these things, we will have further votes to approve them. as time passes.
And I do encourage council to review the capital plan prior to our first budget discussion in October, just because one of the things that we will need to budget, as President Bush has mentioned, this is not a funding document, so we do have some funding strategies in the capital plan to propose some ways of funding the various projects, including some contributions from general fund to the capital program to kind of add to that available funding. So taking a look through and taking a look at those capital projects that we're proposing, we do have a fair number of ones that are somewhat critical for next year, which do have a bit of a ticket on them. So just take a look at that as we move into our budget discussions. I think that might be helpful to kind of frame some of the asks that we're going to be looking at that staff will be recommending.
That grant funding you mentioned in your earlier statement, is that, you said it was available, so is that potentially could go into the capital funding or not?
So we actually had a meeting with the project partners on it yesterday, and we received feedback that it was not likely to be a competitive project, and that we could move forward with the application, because this was an interesting one where you had a preliminary application and then you had a final application. So they did give us feedback on the improvements and corrections that we need to make to the application in order to submit for the final application. But even if we were to do that, it would likely not be funded.
I guess we're talking about two different things.
We were talking about the TASA.
No, and he's asking about the 80,000 that you got from the county from closing out the stormwater bump outs.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's unallocated money, so that's just going to go into our general fund.
Oh, so when you talk about here, moving money from the general fund is now...
We now have $80,000 more, yes, that we could move, yeah.
But there's no other restrictions on it?
No. But to my point, the TASA program, I was going to mention that.
I'm sorry.
But we can, so staff need to make a decision if we're going to move forward with that. That will require additional engineering costs to update the plan.
If they're warning us that we're not competitive, that does seem like a strong suggestion that we not continue with this.
That's the sense that I got, so that would be my recommendation. On the bright side, the effort is not wasted because we can take what we prepared and apply it to other grants in the future, but it looks like the TASA program is probably not going to be a viable option for us for that particular project. Now that one is not one of the critical ones that we've identified for next year, so I'm okay with letting that one sit for another cycle as we pursue other opportunities for funding for that particular project.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about the capital improvement plan? All right, let's vote to adopt the 2026 to 2030 CIP. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous, and that will go on the website as well?
We'll post it tomorrow.
Yep, sounds good. All right, 9B, Human Relations.
I move to adopt ordinance 1066 amendment to chapter 49 Human Relations.
Second, okay. Mike?
I guess we've discussed this before. The basic overview is that we're reducing the number of members of the commission from 5 to 3 and alternates from 2 to 1. We've had trouble filling those roles. We've also added substantive change to the ordinance to include that people can't discriminate in not just employment and housing, but in contractual relationships, meaning that if somebody's an independent contractor, for example, that you can't discriminate based on one of the protected characteristics if you're hiring the person as an independent contractor rather than as an employee. And other than that, the other things are just sort of technical in nature. I will note that the county just passed an ordinance. Well, actually, they didn't pass an ordinance, they passed a resolution to adopt their own Human Relations Act. sometime in the future. Will be codified hopefully by ordinance. So there'll be some overlay with the county as well. Unlike us, they did not explicitly include sexual orientation in their resolution, which seems odd because that's the primary reason why you adopt your own ordinance, is to add those additional protections. So we remain ahead of the curve in terms of us versus the county.
Okay. Any questions or
Not
comments?
anything I forgot that? Okay.
Yeah, and this has been discussed before. All right, let's vote to adopt ordinance 1066, the amendment to chapter 49, human relations. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. 9C is bridge stuff. Resolution 2025-19.
I move to adopt resolution 2025-19 for the Amtrak reimbursement agreement. Second.
Okay.
All right, so more fun bridge things. Once we
Bridge things.
once we got into, I feel like I should have like a special sound to play every time we talk about bridge things.
Choo-choo noise?
A choo-choo noise. So the long and short of it is, once the contractor was awarded, the contract started submitting all of the materials through to the various agencies for review. Amtrak noted that the insurance requirements were not complete, and come to find out that Amtrak had neglected to include a document that they needed to include in the bid package that included all of the list of required insurances that the contractor was supposed to carry. The result is that they were about $25 million short in various insurance requirements. And this was something that Amtrak should have provided and they didn't. And the contractor and Amtrak have been working back and forth to negotiate on the specific insurance requirements that they would need to carry. Amtrak has come down a little bit, but ultimately what this means is that the contractor is now going to have to pay more money to purchase additional insurances that they didn't originally anticipate and bid for, because this came about after everything had already been authorized for award. So the next step is they are going to get this insurance. It is going to be covered. Initially we were told that it was the borough's fault and that we would have to cover the costs. It was not our fault. And so the additional costs of the insurance will be covered under the reimbursement agreement. I'm going to just put a brief caveat on that to say that this is the information that I'm getting now, and I will update you if anything changes, and I will fight tooth and nail to make sure that it does get included in the reimbursement. So what this resolution will do is essentially going to increase then the total amount of reimbursement that we're going to be eligible for, and this is to account for the additional costs that have been incurred as a result of the increased insurance requirements. So this increases our reimbursement up to, I think, 18 million thereabouts to cover the full cost of everything, which does include then these change orders from the insurance requirements. This also has to be updated because there's a different manager now, and so this just makes sure that we cover all of our bases, that I'm authorized, and that our reimbursement amount is increased to cover the cost of that additional insurance. So this will just get uploaded into our ECMS platform, and this should cover us for everything. So that will ensure that we get the full amount of reimbursement afforded to us for the cost of the project.
Approximately how big a difference is there now in cost, having to get this extra insurance?
It originally was going to cost the contractor about $300,000 more to pay for the additional insurance.
Wow.
But they didn't, like I said, negotiate down. So originally it was around $25 million in additional insurance that they would need to carry. That came down a little bit, and so the actual cost to purchase the insurance came down to about, I think, $120,000 was what the consultants were telling me. So I'm using round numbers because I don't have exact figures,
Ballpark.
but ballpark. So that just increases the cost. So the contractor is just purchasing that, and then they're submitting that through the portal for reimbursement. But I did confirm previously that those costs they would bill through to ECMS. So I'm gonna use ECMS a lot. You'll hear me say that. This is the online PennDOT platform that all these projects go through. So they submit through to ECMS, and then the state will pay us, and then we will pay the contractor. So we're also not out that money, and for the period that we have to wait for a reimbursement, we don't pay anything until we get paid by the state. So it's a pay when paid situation, which is hugely beneficial for us, as we move forward. So we thought that it might have to be the other way around. So ultimately, it doesn't impact us or our operations in any way, shape, or form, but this resolution will ensure that we're covered from our reporting requirements through the state.
But who pays the insurance company? I mean, someone's got to front the
the contractor.
Oh, so the contractor is going to be out this money until we pay them.
Right.
Seems like a pretty big miss.
Yes.
That's a major.
Well, for them, 120,000, 300,000.
It must have been nothing.
Yeah, but it's average.
But that is a substantial miss.
Yeah, it sure is.
Not our problem. Not our
Well,
I don't want it to come up, so I just.
we had to fight to convince them that it was not our problem.
Yeah.
So Maggie did
There's been a
solid work in
lot
that.
of calls.
Yeah.
A lot of calls.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
managing that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I feel it's just gonna be an endless parade of calls
Yeah.
for the next 4 years, but
Thank you for staying on top of it, and thank you for, noting that it was missing from the packet, because that's a big miss.
I can't take credit for that, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's, what else did they miss?
But, oh, I guess this is not the kind of thing that would come out of like the project contingency, because that's more for things they discover in the field that are wrong, that what they need. Because I mean, presumably this project has a chunk in there for, unexpected conditions that they run into.
Right, yeah.
But this isn't that kind of
This,
thing.
I don't.
No, it wouldn't qualify.
I don't know if Tony can speak more to kind of what gets included under contingencies, but this is an insurance requirement. It has nothing to do with actual construction costs. So typically your contingencies are as a result of changes in materials, availability, cost, or labor things.
Yeah, exactly what that
Yeah, they refer to it as like below the line or above the line, meaning is it part of the construction or is it something extra? And this is something extra.
Yeah, yes.
Any other questions? All right, we're voting on Resolution 2025-19 Amtrak reimbursement agreement so that we can get repaid for this snafu. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. We are going to pass over 9D. That is not ready for us this month. So I will take a motion for 9E.
I move that Borough Council approve and authorize the execution of the contract with Mainline Executive Realty for property management services at 201 Sabine Ave.
Second.
Okay. So our former property manager announced that they were leaving a few months ago and no longer wished to work with the property, so we put out a request for proposals and decided on Mainline Executive Realty, who had been the property managers for the site before.
Different person,
Different person? Okay.
in a good way.
Okay. I thought they had been involved with the property, is that all right? Okay.
I think that different, same company,
Same
different
company.
person.
Same firm, different. I think they were called Mainline Executive Management at the time.
Okay.
So they've went through a small name change, and yes, the actual person is different.
Okay.
Well,
Anything
Kevin
else
was
to-
working with someone else, but anyway.
Anything else to add? Well, we have a property manager because dealing with this property takes a lot of time and effort, and dealing with tenants is not really how council or our borough manager want to be spending time. So.
Yeah, and I did speak with Kevin Murphy earlier today, and he said that he's been dealing with some, sinks that have water leaks. So I am grateful that he is managing that, because I don't know that I could do bridge insurance meetings and leaky sinks in the same day. So the contract is going to replicate the more or less the same numbers that were proposed in the response to the RFP that Mainline Executive Realty had given to us in July. So we're looking at a commission of 75% of the first month's rent for all new and renewed leases. There's a monthly management fee in there. And then we do have a sale price. So if the property were to sell, we do have the sales price articulated. What this contract does not include is any provisions for long-term leases. So it actually specifically excludes long-term leases. If we are to engage in a tenant who's interested in a long-term lease, which is defined as something that's 10 years or more, that we would have a separate standalone contract that would address that specific scenario as opposed to being included in this general services contract. So it includes all the basic things that you would think that a property manager would do, so maintaining the building, the grounds, the leases, seeking new tenants, and all that good stuff. Yeah, so they've been working on the property since August 1st. So this is just to formalize what's being done in practice right now.
And I'll add that council has no immediate plans for sale of the property, but that's just a standard provision that we have with our property manager, with our last property manager as well. Yep, the sale has been included in the past, but yes, correct. We have no imminent plans to sell. No offer on the table.
There is no offer, there is no plans.
Yeah. Any other questions about the contract? Okay, let's vote to approve the contract with Mainline Executive Realty for property management services for 201 Sabine. All those in favor? Okay, it is unanimous. Fonji board membership.
I'll take that one. I move that Borough Council approve the following Fonji membership changes: the resignation of Rosemary McDonough, the resignation of Peter Grove, the appointment of Nancy Grove to fill the remainder of Rosemary McDonough's term, the appointment of Rob McGreevy to fill the remainder of Peter Grove's term, the resignation of Bob Weisboyd as chair, and the appointment of Rob McGreevy as chair.
Second.
Okay. So Fonji is a nonprofit that is dedicated to supporting the borough's green spaces. It is now set up to receive tax-deductible donations. So for anyone who is interested in supporting park space around the borough, you can get in touch with Fonji. They have already received a significant donation from Peter Grove. So thank you to Peter for his support of the borough. And it's great to see it up and running. Anyone have any comments about the changes to the board that are proposed here? Or Maggie, did you have something you wanted to add?
I would just like to give a gigantic thank you to Peter Brewer for his tireless efforts on behalf of the borough's green space and being the steward of our green space and trying to, make sure it is in wonderful shape for generations to come. And just a heartfelt, giant thank you for everything he has done.
Yeah, I'm not sure we would currently own Elm Grove, that park space, if it weren't for his advocacy and his, as you say, tireless advocacy for green space. So.
And the borough owes him a debt of gratitude, and I'd like to extend that.
Any other comments?
I also just want to thank Bob Weisboard for serving as chair and navigating it through the whole initial process of setting it up and applying for the 501c3 status. So, and also to Rosemary for her service on the board.
Yep. Okay, let's vote to make the proposed, to approve the proposed changes to the Fonji board membership. All those in favor? Okay, it is unanimous, and yeah, thanks once again to everybody currently serving on the board and to past board members. And congratulations on achieving the 501c3 milestone. Okay. 9G is sidewalk replacements.
So procedurally, how do we do this? Because it's a blank on the motion sheet for the not to exceed.
Well, let's begin by opening discussion on the sidewalk replacement project. Someone move to open discussion on the sidewalk replacement project.
I move to open discussion on the sidewalk replacement project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a few options in front of us here for how to proceed.
We do, that's correct. So Tony, I'm going to ask you to kind of help me out here, but essentially we started with the sidewalk project. So last year, Tony and Jeff had identified the areas of the sidewalk that would need to be replaced. So this is in the full city block, kind of around the park. So Haverford, Wynwood, Windsor, and a little bit here on Conway. The project was bid, given that scope of work, and we received and awarded the contract to Cipollone. They came out and took a look at the sidewalk and identified additional sidewalk blocks that they would recommend be replaced in addition to what we initially identified in the original scope of work. This was based mainly on some logistics, economies of scale, and overall aesthetics that they were recommending to, instead of doing more piecemeal saw cuts, to do more contiguous blocks so that we'd have longer runs of replaced sidewalk as opposed to smaller sections being replaced just based on need. That increased the costs, obviously, and then we, meaning myself, Tony, and Jeff, went out a couple weeks ago and took a look at what Cipollone was recommending and came up with a kind of mid-range plan. So it's more than what the original scope of work was, but less than what Cipollone had recommended. And so we have those replacements as well. The original cost for the project as it was bid, and Tony, I don't know if you have any updated numbers to share what we have from yesterday.
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. I'll let Tony then go through the costs of the different project, and right before I turn it over to Tony, I also just want to mention that regardless of what scope of work we go with, either the original, the Cipollone recommended, or the mid-range plan, the recommendation is to increase the depth of the concrete for the sidewalk area in front of the building here on Conway Avenue. That is where the volunteer firefighters will pull up when they're responding to calls. And the weight of the vehicles is damaging the sidewalk. The sidewalk is not rated for vehicles. So regardless of what we do, we have the opportunity now, while we're redoing that sidewalk, to actually excavate it a little bit deeper and pour in 8 inches of concrete instead of 4 inches of concrete, which will increase the tension strength of that sidewalk area to better support the weight of those vehicles, so that that portion of the sidewalk will be better maintained for a longer time. It won't chip and crack nearly as quickly as it will if we just replace it with a 4-inch sidewalk. So that is a recommended increase in the scope of work, kind of regardless of which of the 3 plans we want to go with. So I'll have Tony walk you through the different costs associated with each of those 3 plans.
Yep. So the original bid was bid out at $149,000. Including Cipollone's, all of Cipollone's recommendations, that would bring the price from $149 to $175. Now I had asked Cipollone if there was any discounts for any economies of scale for that additional work. We got the $175 strictly based off of the measurements that we took and the unit cost that we received from the original bid. So when I talked to Cipollone about that, they told us that they would be willing to take $4,000 off of that price if we went ahead and did all of the recommendations that Cipollone wanted. So that would bring the price from $175 to $171. And then the modified scope, kind of the middle ground that Maggie was talking about, that one is also based off of the measurements that we took and the multiplied by the unit cost that Cipollone had given us with their bid, and that puts us at 153.
And I'll say we budgeted $155 for this project.
All right, so there's pictures in the packet if anybody wants to.
What did Cipollone recommend that we said no to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. It was a lot of the aesthetics. So, you know, like they recommended that we include like those middle couple blocks where, you know, where we're doing one section, skipping a couple blocks and doing another section. You know, those couple blocks that they recommended that we do are still in really good condition. So we opted to not do, you know, take those out of the scope. And then, you know, we opted to take a significant amount of curb replacement out of the scope because after we evaluated it further, we determined that we could definitely get several more years out of it. You know, it's not in pristine condition, but still in, you know, good condition that we're comfortable taking out of the scope.
Got it. Thank you.
I have to say, I'm inclined to trust the judgment of our public works staff and borough manager and consultant from our engineering firm here. That would be my inclination, would be to accept their middle ground proposal based on the spot analysis.
Mike, did you get your question?
Yes,
answered?
yeah.
Okay.
It was just yes.
What was the answer? Because I was confused.
The answer was it's included in both, it just hadn't been.
The deeper sidewalk.
No, there was a ADA ramp question. The map was a little confusing about whether one was going to be removed or not, and we want to make sure that it wasn't removed.
I think it was just a shading thing. The shading hadn't made the jump.
But this extra, you know, the 8-inch concrete, was that included in those numbers?
Yeah, to is that in the 153?
That's included in the 153.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's not in the original bid, right?
It's not in the original bid, correct? Yeah. So the original bid would be 149, you know, plus I think it came to about $1,500 more to do that 8 inches, if I remember correctly. So if we went with just the straight up original bid, you know, we'd be at 149 plus a change order to reflect that additional depth of concrete.
So what else did you add to, you know, to get it up to 150, whatever the number is, 53?
So we added a few of Cipolloni's recommendations, you know, stuff that they saw that we thought, yeah, like we agree that that's something that we should do. You know, it could have been, you know, more damage that took place between the time that we originally looked at it to today.
For what it's worth, I was going in the building, paying my taxes at the time. Maggie was outside looking, and I really looked down and saw that the sidewalk there is pretty chopped up. Yeah.
Are we confident that Cipollone is going to accept this number as a, you know, as a price for their work?
Yeah, it's based on unit cost. So.
Okay.
Yeah. They're certainly confident with the full recommendation, you know, the 171. And I have no reason to doubt that they would accept, you know, this middle ground number if it's based strictly off of the unit prices.
And so when is this work going to be done?
So they're planning to start when the bump out project is done. They're going to start the bump out project sometime next week, and they're expecting about 3 weeks or so to do that. So I guess that probably puts us around like middle to end of October, I think is when they would start the sidewalk project. And I believe it was about a 3 to 4 week time frame for the sidewalk project.
And just to reiterate something we bring up every time, that there'll be a safe way for people to walk.
Yes.
While this is going on.
Yeah, we've got that. Yeah, we've got that as part of the contract, and they're aware of the pedestrian safety aspect. Yes.
You know, I'm just thinking about election day. You know, last year that sidewalk was all torn up, and there was no safe. People were having to walk in the street to get down here to vote, which was
So
not.
we decided it will be done by election day then?
No, because he's saying end of October.
We're starting. Yeah, if they're going to start that around October, around middle of October, we'll probably run into election. So I mean, we could push it, or we could have them start after election if that's.
Or you could have them do a different section.
I would just avoid sort of right out here.
Yeah, they're not going to rip it all out and then pour the entire.
No.
I mean, it either needs to be totally done out here or it needs to be left alone before election day. We can't have it in process during election day. It's a good
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be sure to relay that to them.
And I will just note, I mentioned this in F&A, but because the bid was based on unit price and not the total scope of work, we don't have to go out and rebid this project at all. So we're covered under our bid requirements so that we can massage the scope of work a little bit because we're not ultimately changing what was bid on, which was the actual unit price per linear foot and per sidewalk walk itself.
And will the parking spaces be affected there? There's parking spaces on both sides of Haverford Avenue.
They may be affected temporarily. We're anticipating that's where the pedestrian access will be in near the baseball field. And when they're constructing the curb, they'll have those parking spaces closed off.
Yeah, but like in November, it's, I guess it'll be football season.
Well,
Yeah, I guess I'm just worried about election day because I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who park on that street for election day.
I mean, there's no getting around that it's going to be a minor inconvenience because it's such a well-used area.
Public space.
It's public space, it's around our park, and it will impact parking as they go from section to section. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that it won't be somewhat of a nuisance for that period of time. It is a short period of time though, and it is necessary, but we do appreciate the feedback regarding the election. So we will be sure to let our contractor know that that is a concern that we have, and to have them make sure that their schedule aligns so that they're not working on the area immediately adjacent to the building for the general election.
But, I mean, it's also gonna be noisy while they're jackhammering out the sidewalk.
Yeah, and yes, it will be a nuisance. One of the things that we didn't talk about was any public notice, since this is all on Borough right of way. So I haven't heard from anybody that there needs to be public notice about this, but there will be noise. They will follow the noise ordinance though.
It's probably not a bad idea to put something in the newsletter and just give people a heads up.
Sure.
It's never a bad idea.
Just like the
to give
paving
people-
project.
Huh?
Just like the paving project.
Yeah.
The other thing we may have to be aware of is the Halloween parade. I know it usually goes down
Yeah.
Haverford Avenue.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
that night before Halloween, so October 30th.
October 30th.
Okay.
They end up in
Yeah,
the
that was a
parking
thing
lot.
last year.
Yeah. And what we can do as well is for the parking spaces, so any parking spaces on Haverford and on Windsor, we can have the contractor just put out cones as notice ahead of time so that folks who generally park, especially on Windsor, since that's more typical overnight parking for the residential there, just to alert them that there's going to be some construction work in the area for those segments.
All right, so
what's
I would like to
plan
hear a
for this?
motion to
Cost
modify the sidewalk replacement project to the cost of 153?
Yep.
Based on our discussion, unless somebody wants to propose changing the number.
Do we have an exact number or should we round it up to 154?
Why don't we round it to 154?
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we,
I move that Borough Council approve the modification sidewalk restoration project for a cost not to exceed $154,000.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, let's vote to modify the cost of the sidewalk replacement project. All those in favor? All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, everybody, for your work on walking around the block there. Let's move to 9H.
I move that Borough Council ratify and approve joining the appeal challenging the Public Utility Commission's denial of the petition to establish a community choice aggregation program for renewable energy.
Second. Okay. Do you want John or Jean, wants to take this one, summarize it?
Sure.
Otherwise, I can summarize.
So this has been a 2-year-long process, or I don't know exactly how long, but basically this is appealing a petition decision that from the Public Utilities Commission. They denied the petition. We're going, and the appeal has already been filed on September 15th. On Monday, so this vote will confirm that our commitment to the appeal. And
And there are other municipalities involved, and again, when it was presented to council, it was represented, and it was actually the case that there are no attorney's fees that the borough is paying for this. And again, I'm not doing this work, but, and that will continue. So this would not be something that you're spending money on attorney's fees for this.
Right, the attorneys are working, I think they're working pro bono on this project. And yeah, I mean, I already signaled, based on some internal discussions, I signaled our willingness to join this appeal, but we should affirm it as a council. If this petition were approved, it would allow the borough to work with other boroughs to acquire, sort of provide clean energy to all the residents of the borough, allow the borough to serve as an energy provider, to work with a clean energy group to provide this. We're working with Westchester, Swarthmore, and State College, a couple other boroughs. I forget how many have officially signed up.
Yeah, there's 6 other boroughs, 6 or 7 other boroughs. Swarthmore, State College, Downingtown, Media, Phoenixville, Bridgeport, and Westchester.
Is there sort of a concise description of why they turned it down?
I believe that the PUC historically, for non-municipal entities, there's been concerns about consolidating the ability to direct a consumer's costs for what providers they are sort of set to go with. So for example, this would be a situation where it would be presumed that those members within the borough would be signed up for this, having their energy provided by renewable sources. They would then have the right to opt out, and that is not the preferred system that the PUC has because of past instances of sort of non-municipal commercial entities taking advantage of that system.
Yeah, we've all gotten phone calls.
Yeah, it's good, and as the term is called.
What I don't get is, right now, your default, you do have a default, which is PICO. And you have to affirmatively pick another supplier, so I don't quite understand their objection, their difference. I mean, I understand that they claim this is sort of anti-competitive, but...
Well, we'll see what happens with the petition.
And remember, there's only sort of only boroughs would be eligible for this, not townships, just because of very limited language.
Yeah, it's a quirk of the state borough code that allows boroughs to serve as energy providers. I think because some boroughs own power plants, they wanted to allow those boroughs to continue to serve their residents. Okay, any further discussion here? All right, let's vote on joining the appeal of the PUC's petition denial for community choice aggregation. All those in favor? Okay. Final consideration item, Police Advisory Committee resignation for Rebecca Starr.
Okay. I move the Borough Council accept the resignation of Rebecca Starr as chair and member of the Police Advisory Committee.
I'll second.
Okay. So we established the Police Advisory Committee a few years ago during a period where there was a lot of concern about the role of the police in public culture and the role of the police force in society. And Rebecca was one of the founding members of the committee, and I think has served as the chair since it was formed. So the Police Advisory Committee has provided us with a lot of useful suggestions, and I think most notably our police force started using body cameras over the last few years, and the Police Advisory Committee helped us navigate that process. So I'd like to thank Rebecca for her service on the committee.
I would like to thank Rebecca for the countless hours that she put into making our police force what what she thought was the best police force for our community. And I appreciate, as a mayor and someone who runs the police, I very much appreciate your efforts. And thank her.
I think it's notable that, despite kind of all these tensions over the role of the police force, I think we've received almost I think our residents are very happy with our police force.
I think our residents are very happy.
It's well integrated and.
Yes, I think we're in a very sweet spot with our police department. I'm very happy. I believe morale is good, our citizens are happy. I think we're in general, in a very good spot. And I thank her for her efforts.
I want to thank her too. As the chair of public health and safety, I've been working closely with her, and it's really been a pleasure working with her. And she's been really organized and dedicated and working hard at all of the initiatives. So.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, let's vote to accept the resignation of Rebecca Starr. All those in favor? Okay. That concludes our consideration items. I did want to discuss the Planning Commission report to us, because after our last meeting, we asked the Planning Commission to come up with a schedule, a proposed schedule that we could look at that would address our comments, our questions, our thoughts about zoning, and would kind of lay out for us a timeline for their work on zoning changes that have been discussed. So at their last meeting, they had a lengthy discussion on, among other things, on planning out the timeline here. So we have a proposed timeline from the Planning Commission. I asked the chair of Planning Commission, Adam Crum, to be present at the meeting, so if anybody had questions about this, we could ask Adam. I think they, you'll note that they went through Cindy and I worked on trying to make concrete all of the discussion items that we had. So we worked together to create this letter that we sent to Planning Commission. Planning Commission digested that and came up with different things that, different aspects of that letter, and different things that they thought should be addressed at different times, and they've come up with this calendar for further discussion. I will leave it up to you, council members, if you have anything to say about it. I'll note that our discussion in council of any changes, we're probably looking at next year at this point, because we're going to be working on the budget process through much of the end of the year, and it would take some time to take whatever recommendations Planning Commission makes and to bring them into concrete language so that we could vote on it. So, the timeline that they're proposing here, it probably meshes with us having our discussions starting in early next year. And I would anticipate that if we went ahead with this timeline, we would also have a town hall. We talked about having like a public meeting. I anticipate that would also be early next year. And I would also say that, assuming we're on board with this timeline, we can then ask Maggie and Emily to get it onto the borough website in a form so that residents can know when these topics are coming up, because there's been a lot of public interest in these topics, and we want to make sure that people know which meeting to attend to have their voice heard on these issues. So I think that would be another outcome of seeing this calendar, is we'd be able to put it on the borough's website in a more formal fashion.
I just had sort of one question. It looked like, and maybe you already had the meeting, but you have this discussion of 5E, the Montgomery Avenue Commercial Corridor discussion, sort of right up at the front, and I wasn't sure why that got sort of a preliminary priority, and I'm a little concerned that, my understanding is that the developer of the Rite Aid lot is going to present in October his preliminary designs. And I worry that the discussion of potential changes to 5B could influence what he might otherwise present. It seems to me that
No conclusions were drawn.
So I was at, were you there? Yeah, you were there. Yeah, so I was at the meeting, and they had an initial discussion of the 5B district, partly because they've already, had some discussions of that, so I think they were prepared to go.
so that's already happened, so it's a moot point.
Well,
But it didn't, but
they didn't
it
vote on
wasn't like,
anything.
No, I understand. I'm
There
just
will be-
saying, like,
so the
I saw
developers
that
may
it was
come
on the
again,
agenda
yeah.
for September.
yeah, well, if you have a spare 3 hours, you can.
I don't.
I think they were ready. They felt ready to dive right in. That's
Okay.
basically what happened. And currently, Adam Rosenzweig is on the agenda for next month's meeting. He may not be officially on the agenda, but
We need to discuss the
Yeah.
agenda. It's on set, but that was the anticipation.
it is likely that he will be there.
He would be available. to be there.
And I just want you to know that he reached out to one of my neighbors who then put him in contact with me, and I was like, I need to separate my hats here. He has asked to meet with the neighbors who abut
Yeah, I
the
mean,
Rite Aid property, and I am trying to arrange that just as the go-between. I'm not trying to, I just want you all to know that I'm
Yeah,
doing that, because there's been some
Yeah, but this-
other discussions about, don't talk to the developers,
but he probably said the word Shirley Circle about 10 times during.
Well, Shirley Road, it's really Shirley Road, it's not really, that's the thing, is it doesn't really affect us on the circle so much, but he reached out to somebody who he knew from the last development. She doesn't live there anymore, so she put him in touch with me, and I said, I'm happy to try and arrange a time and place for you to meet your neighbors.
Okay, yeah, I don't see any problem with that. I mean, it's your street.
Yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning to everybody,
Sure.
because I don't want somebody to find out after the fact and say, Mike, why are you meeting the developer? I may attend, just to attend, but I'm
Okay.
not gonna run it and I actually told him I didn't think it was appropriate to, he asked if he could use the space, and I thought it wasn't really appropriate.
I mean, anyone can rent, can use the big room for a community meeting. So he could apply to use the
Oh, okay.
the room as a community meeting.
Okay.
But
Okay.
actually, I don't know if it's not open to everybody.
It
Well,
is.
somebody from,
Yeah.
I mean-
one of the residents could rent it.
But there's a fee.
Yeah.
Reserve it.
There's a fee. Yeah, you can rent this room, you can rent the multi-purpose room.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's open to anybody, it's a facilities use permit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's not a, so there would likely be a fee if he was the one
Yeah.
who was organizing it, because it's not a community
Right.
It's not like a
meeting,
public-
it's not like a public meeting, it's,
Okay, so
intended.
he'd be treated like anybody else who
Yeah.
wanted to use the
Okay.
space.
Okay, I'll mention that to him, because he did ask about using it here, and
Okay.
I thought it made more sense to meet in the neighborhood, but I can mention that.
Depends how many folks he's gonna have.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
He can have it in his empty store.
That's right. There you go.
well, for some, he wants to do like a video presentation, so I think that's why he's talking about doing it.
Hopefully I'll just your time that we did. Okay. Anybody else have comments or questions about the planning commission's proposed schedule?
Well, see, so, let's say he comes next month and presents what he
Yeah.
wants. But what I guess I heard you say is that if he wants things that, are not by right, he's not gonna get a decision on that this year.
So he's going to present a concept, as far as I know. It is going to be something that he can't build by right. So we're not considering any zoning changes at this moment. So whatever he's going to propose, it's going to have to wait until, it's either going to have to be by right, he'll have to go to the zoning hearing board, or he'll have to wait until council passes whatever changes we're going to pass. So, I mean, yes. there's no, he can't build anything right now unless it's by right. And as far as I know, he has not submitted an official application, so this will be like a concept sketch. It won't be I don't believe he will be submitting like an official project application.
So I've actually been taking a look at how the saldo works. So I need to make an official determination because we don't have anything in the code that defines like a concept sketch. So what he submitted does kind of fall under a sketch plan.
I stand corrected.
But
I mean, historically, people have just come to planning commission with something that is not a formal application. I don't know how you want to characterize it.
right, so there's historic precedent, and then there's kind of following the process. So I need to talk with our zoning officer about the actual determination for this.
Okay.
So I don't want to make any commitment right now, but we are looking at what the actual kind of ordinance requirements are, just to create a uniform, consistent, and universally applied kind of standard for determining, anyone who wants to come and propose something before the planning commission. So just trying to create a kind of uniform policy around that submission process and that requesting process.
Okay. My intention would be to have council discussing this early next year, discussing zoning changes early next year. So, he'll have to work with that timeline.
I think he also mentioned he's looking for a tenant, but wasn't too optimistic about that.
Yeah. So right now it's the Rite Aid building. Rite Aid went bankrupt. He's looked at. He's informed us that he's looked at other pharmacies, tried to convince other people to take the site as is, with some modifications, but he has not yet found a medical company or another pharmacy, or he hasn't got a taker. So that's why he's going to be considering a mixed-use building. But his plans could change. He could end up with a tenant after all.
Large footprint commercial is not particularly resilient. You get when you might end up in this situation again in a couple of years.
Well, I mean, you see how long it took them to fill the former.
No, for sure. I just remember
the Bed Bath & Beyond space. I mean, that took years to fill.
Spirit Halloween, huge.
Yeah. Let's hope we don't get a Spirit Halloween.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny. We have so many buildings in this community that have stood for 100 years. Here we are talking about something that was built in my lifetime. I think it speaks to the non-resiliency of those types of spaces, but discussion for another day.
Adam, you have anything you want to add to the discussion here?
Just that, as the agenda, or as the schedule lays out, we thought we would go sort of around the borough bit by bit, since it's not a uniform design criteria over in the borough. In the last meeting, the agenda, our guest speaker was Jason Duckworth, who used to live in the borough and developed the arbors, and presented on projects in media and also Doylestown. So we had a presentation on market rate apartments, market rate townhomes that were not addressing a street, which is important because we don't really have a zoning standard related to houses that aren't fronting streets. And so we just discussed what that might require in terms of an overlay or changes to zoning to make that possible. His media project, I think they worked for multiple years on the entitlement process with zoning to get it possible, but to put it in perspective, the apartment building I think is about 150 units, and then there's a couple dozen single family homes.
I think it's unlikely that we'll see any projects similar to that scale.
Yeah, I was sort of referencing that's by comparison, the Elm, which is one of our largest buildings, is only 50-something units. So the media project is about 3 times larger. Then in Doylestown, the important thing was that he also has townhomes arranged on a more complicated platting of the property to get the density, to get essentially townhomes on a long deep lot off of a major street, and he has a 60-unit senior income restricted project as a part of that. So it's a combination of market rate townhomes that are selling for about $1 million with senior housing that will be developed by Penrose if they receive a low-income housing tax credit. So it was a very informative discussion presented on what the economic breakpoints were for development, what made a project feasible or not feasible, and why certain types of development were more likely than others, and so on. So then Adam came and spoke about the Rite Aid, but we didn't have any formal presentation at that meeting on what his plans were. So,
That was during public comment.
And I just want to say, I thought that whole discussion by the developer was really important because he talked a lot about land use economics and what makes a project feasible. And I encourage everyone here to watch that discussion, everyone in the public to watch the discussion, because I think it's really valuable to understand how that works and what makes a project work.
Yeah, and I'll note that we did ask, Planning Commission to reach out to reach out to people involved working, who are building townhouses and who are building these missing middle units, and see what were the zoning changes that enabled you to build this. What does the borough lack? So I'm glad that you're already getting useful information from folks about this.
And the question was asked, why discuss 5B Montgomery Avenue first? And there's a number of reasons. One is to coincide with the corridor study that's ongoing, that's looking at traffic configuration for safety. The other is the fact that there could be an active development proposal, so that we are being proactive rather than reactive. Because, for example, what we heard from Jason Duckworth was that, well, they did multiple years to do an overlay zoning in media to make their project possible. Doylestown's approach is just go to the zoning hearing board. And so they just sort of waive the zoning and get a permit to build what is a very nice project. And that's perhaps the process that some boroughs or municipalities may find more desirable. But in our case, we were hoping to continue to pursue, a regulatory approach that might allow that dialogue with the community directly. So,
I think historically that's been the way Narberth has worked, rather than sending people to the zoning hearing board to try to establish some rules, some ground rules that's for sure. Yeah, we can agree on.
But Adam, do you think it's fair to characterize most of the projects the smallest project he's built is probably bigger than we have room for in Narberth, or was
no, I mean, I think that we are on the smaller end of the spectrum, but we're not off the table. I mean, he's built single-family homes, obviously, in Narberth. They're sort of custom high-end homes. But there does seem to be, for multifamily, there's probably a minimum critical mass, right? So the senior housing project is 60. It could probably get a little smaller, but the larger apartment buildings tend to be about 100 to 150 units. So and then the townhomes were, it's a diversity. They're usually a dozen or more, again, to get the critical mass for the construction project. His media project also included rehab of existing historic townhomes on the same property. So if you buy a property that has existing historic buildings, they were incorporated into the master plan for the development as well. So
I think perhaps one of the I found more interesting things that he did, and I encourage you to watch it, is he showed the numbers about about how much the land costs, how much the construction costs, how much the infrastructure costs, and how much is left, as profit. Because I mean, like it or not, people aren't going to be interested in doing something here if that's not good. It's not good profit for them. And the bigger you have, of course, the more.
And I do know, I recognize that there's concern about the timing, but I actually think that it's like very valuable to have like a real project, like instead of an imaginary project, when we're talking about these zoning things, zoning decisions, to be able to kind of say, okay, this is somebody who is coming to us with like a real project, and something that's buildable, or they think it's buildable.
Well, it also shouldn't be lost on us that he actually successfully completed another project.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's useful to know what the stakes are. Like, if we were to change the zoning, this is the kind of project that we might see, what he's got to propose. So it would be nice to, I think everybody should know, yeah, if we make these changes, this is a project that might be built. You know, here, have a look at it, see what you think. You know, talk it over. This is the kind of thing that might happen. So I think it's very useful in that regard.
Where is the senior housing project in Media? You know?
It's actually, the senior housing is in Doylestown.
Oh, Doylestown. It's 60 units, senior housing.
From memory, it's 60 units.
It
hasn't been built yet.
It's an affordable senior housing?
Yes.
A little more affordable?
Low income housing tax credit financing.
For seniors?
Yeah, so they're still waiting, they've applied for the funding
Yeah.
and they're hoping any day now, so to put it.
I love that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, so so it is a competitive process to receive the low income housing tax credits.
Mm-hmm.
But the sense is that, Montgomery County is like our zone in the metropolitan area would be very competitive for that. And then for senior housing, I mean, Narberth, is a relatively high amenity location. You have a lot of transit access, you have shopping and public space that's all.
I love the idea of being able to retire in the place I love.
So I guess the question on that is, that's what I'm sort of very interested in is, how do you convince, what do you do to the zoning code to convince a developer to be more interested in that than in a higher end condos?
I mean, based on what he was saying, they have to, the way the economics work is they have to get this state money. They have to go through a competitive process to get state money to support the bill. And then if they don't get the money, the project doesn't happen. So it takes several years to go through that process.
So the sort of subsidized housing is a sort of specialty. So he's partnered with Penrose, for example, and that's primarily what they do. But what the developer is doing is providing the design standards so that it's essentially integrated into a mixed income development. So you have essentially very high-end housing with subsidized housing in the same parcel, basically. And then the way that the finances work is, that's where he was describing, you have your soft costs of insurance and so on, and project development and entitlement, and which is the same almost in some ways no matter how big your project is. So the smaller your project gets, the harder it is to bear those costs. And then the ground cost, and then the site improvement cost of all of the infrastructure, parking, sewer, water, and so on. And so if you are able to share those costs or minimize those infrastructure costs, that is what can make the project make or break. So in the case of the Rite Aid parcel, where the Albrecht's nursery was, or the landscape outlet, it's a handsome building, but they essentially did the minimum amount of site work they could. The parking lot was already there, stormwater management was already there, so that was one of the ways I think that particular developer was bringing down their site development costs, and they only have 25 apartments in that building. But you probably need essentially a certain amount of critical mass to pay for all of the stack of costs that go with it.
And one of the other things, and this was at the presentation a year ago from Penrose, when Penrose came and presented specifically on affordable, one of the things that they flagged that is difficult about LIHTC development in particular is the length of time, because obviously in any land transaction you have the seller end of it, right? And so in this case, right, you had a patient seller who is willing to actually, or I guess they either own, Arcadia either owns or has it under control. But the point is that the owner actually is patient and is going through that process versus the difficulty that Penrose articulated when they gave their presentation is that oftentimes what you actually see is the seller wants to sell the property and move on. And if you have a regulatory, if it takes you, a year to get through zoning, and then you have to go submit to the state, and then it's actually a 3 to 5 year process, you're dead coming out of the gate.
I guess the question is, somebody willing to buy the property, the potential to do it, and if that doesn't work, then you develop it otherwise, but in the meantime, you have 3 to 4 years of
Well, usually the seller, often the seller's not a developer, right? The seller's someone.
No, I'm saying the buyer.
Yeah.
The buyer, you can have a buyer buy it with the intent to hopefully do that. If it doesn't fly, it's the buyer who has to be patient.
So that's the other piece, is that normally you have a property under contract. You're not just buying a property in the hopes that you might be able, usually your contract to purchase the property is predicated on you actually having the zoning in place in the first place. So if you don't have a regulatory path or anything like that, the zoning doesn't allow it, you don't even close on the property to begin with. So
right. But I'm saying you could have the alternative. I'm hoping to develop it for affordable senior housing. If I don't get the approvals from whatever, then I'll develop it by right to higher end condos. And I'm trying to figure out
developers often specialize.
The economics of how you create an incentive to have the developer be willing to take the chance. Because obviously there are some developers who are willing to do it, or we want to have these programs.
Well, developers will often specialize. So if you have a market developer, they may not be going into it saying, I'll do it, or they may say, this is what I do, versus someone else does something else.
I'm not sure.
We're getting in the weeds.
I'm not sure Planning Commission had that officially on their list of things, but certainly if you have other folks coming in who have expertise in this, you can talk more about it and try to figure out, is there
I'm
something
hoping to
that...
go to that affordable housing. I think, Maggie, are you going to?
Yeah, if you do want to go, let me know, because I need to register.
Strong towns?
Yeah.
The strong towns?
Yeah, I do want to go, so
Okay.
if you can register me for that. I don't know if anybody from Planning Commission.
I have been hearing a lot of interest about this senior housing, and I support aging in place too, so maybe it's worthwhile to spend a little time discussing just the pros and cons of just workforce housing versus senior housing. My perspective is I do feel like senior housing, it unnecessarily discriminates against younger working professionals, younger families, things like that. So, but maybe that's something that needs to be sussed out as well.
And to keep in mind, everyone should keep in mind, seniors can rent in workforce housing. So we call it senior housing just because it's limited to them, but anyone can rent in a normal workforce unit. And there is a benefit to having a variety of age ranges in who you're living among.
And I feel like a strong community needs all of those age groups, not just the seniors. If there's no space, we're not making space in that community for the younger people, then I don't feel like it strengthens the community for the long term. So that's my perspective. So
That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
All right, so to bring this back to the Planning Commission proposed calendar, I have not heard any significant concerns with this, so I think we can proceed to work
You're
this
not
into the...
wedded to it,
Yeah,
we're not
I
saying
think
like
we
if
should-
you fall behind, we're not gonna be like.
it's all, it's flexible, and it's gonna depend on their own pace, and, if it takes more time to get through a discussion, it'll take more time. But for the next meeting in October, I think that will be of interest to the community, since Adam will be, assuming Adam presents at that meeting, that will be of interest to the community, so we'll wanna make sure that that is publicized through the borough's website, and I don't know if we want to do it in the flash, but definitely I think we should have a section of the webpage that includes any council discussion that there's going to be, and then any planning commission discussion on the zoning changes.
Yeah, so we've been hearing that in past discussions, so we have it's not yet public, we're still building it out, but we have a subsection on our zoning page that will articulate all of these things and have all of these resources available. So it's in beta mode as we're building it out and adding in materials from the Planning Commission and anything else. So that will be launching soon.
Okay. All right. Thanks for all your work in putting this together, and hopefully not all of the meetings are going to be 3-hour marathon sessions, but we do appreciate your attention to this topic. And it was obviously a lot. I mean, we gave you a hefty amount of work to do, and thanks for bringing this calendar back to us. It looks daunting but reasonable. So, and then, like I said, I expect council to start working through the recommendations that come out of Planning Commission early next year. Okay. Any further comments on monthly reports? Committee reports?
I'm sorry, before we move on, I have just an update I want to give you all on the bridge. So separate from what we previously discussed. So we had the matter of the resolution, which had to do with the reimbursement. This was the federal reimbursement resulting from the missed insurance requirements previously. A secondary issue came up with the bridge concurrently, unrelated to insurance requirements, but having to do with the design. So this is PennDOT Cultural Resource Specialist decided to re-look at our project. I guess she's been making a point to look at these projects when they go out to bid, and flagged the project as needing a redesign. So this was something that PennDOT had already reviewed and approved for our design. Then questions were raised after the fact, and the designation was changed, and we now had to go through a redesign review, and a couple small changes came out of that. So we are now being required to change the treatment of the metal finishes of the bridge. So this has to do with the railings, the fencing, the junction boxes. Apparently the lighting fixtures are fine. So previously the design called for a stainless steel finish. I think it was a brushed, polished, number 6 stainless steel finish. We now have to switch to either a black powder coated or a semi-gloss black paint. Not matte, not high gloss, semi-gloss, or brushed metal, a black brushed metal finish. I've had conversations with Jeff about kind of the preference from a maintenance standpoint. So if council has any thoughts as to one versus the other, we do have final say between those two choices. The one thing I will note is that this does actually cause a financial and material change. Because we had to go back through, we had to update all of the design specs, what am I thinking, Tony, the name for it? Like the fabrication specifications. So the design plans, the fabrication specifications. There's other supplemental documents that have to be updated. These are documents that were drafted by our architects, that's VSBA architects. So they have to go in, they're the owners of the plan, they have to go in and actually make the modifications. We're trying to do as much as possible through our construction management firm, which is, sorry, it's getting late, I'm blanking on their name as well, TPD. But there's only so much they can do. So anyway, I got an email today from VSBA, which does include a cost increase to what we had already agreed to pay them. It's about an $8,800 increase in design costs. I'm currently still waiting confirmation from PennDOT that the additional design costs will be covered by the reimbursement agreement, which is a 85-10-5 agreement. So 85 federal, 10% state, 5% borough. So I'm hoping that this is covered under, and I will be fighting for this to be covered under that existing reimbursement agreement, which means that we would only then cover 5% of that $8,800.
440.
Right. So it'd be a nominal increase in the expenditure. So we would do what we've been doing, where we pay that bill and then submit for reimbursement, which is different from the construction, which is the federal funding, which is a pay when paid. This is a reimbursement, like a true reimbursement. So I'm waiting for confirmation from PennDOT, but ultimately this is a required design change. So at the worst, we're going to be on the hook for the full cost. Best case scenario, which I'm pushing hard for, is the 5% of that. But either way, we do have to confirm with the SBA to increase the cost of the contract because this is an additional kind of above and beyond. And I will note, we do have as part of our original contractual agreements with all of our consultants, the SBA is going to be a partner through this process, through the end design phases, but because this is part of the design phase, right, so the way that contracts work is you have a dollar amount is allocated for each phase in the project. So we have construction services with them. This falls outside of that, so we can't dip into that money at this time because this falls under the design phase. So this is like an addendum to the design phase, which I'm advocating and working hard on my end to get this under the reimbursement agreement. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention. There's nothing that we have before us tonight. At a future council meeting, we will have an addendum. Unfortunately, I do only have 2 weeks to sign this, and I just got it today, so I wasn't able to put it before you for tonight. If our timing works out, I don't know if it'll fall, I think it falls outside of the
Seems like
work session.
It's 2 weeks from Thursday. Our council session's going to be on Tuesday, and you're saying 2 weeks will be a Thursday, so I think we're going to miss it.
But ultimately, this is a required change. There's no way around this. I have been fighting for weeks to stick to the original design plan, and that has not been successful. So we are where we are. We have to make this change, so we do have to authorize this payment, but I will update you at the next council meeting with where we actually fall in terms of the reimbursement agreement, and then that will be an action item just to acknowledge that formally. So I just wanted to put that before you.
Does anybody on council feel like they need to offer an opinion as to which of the
Is there
metal
a
choices
functional
we
reason for
make?
this, or is this aesthetics?
Aesthetics.
Really? What?
And who's saying this?
The cultural resource specialist at PennDOT. Her name is Monica Harrow.
Wow, how did she get to, that's what you call chutzpah. That is pretty out of line.
You mentioned it was already approved.
It was already approved, and then she has made it a policy to take another look at these projects because the way that it goes through the design process, I guess she looked at it a while ago, and then she looks at it again when it goes out to bid, and decided that it didn't meet, I guess PennDOT had updated their requirements from the time that it was originally designed to now, and so now they're holding us to the new standards, and the new standards meant that we had to change the feature type of the paint.
We've made the determination that it is better to accede to this request than to attempt to
Fight it?
appeal it or in the interest of getting the bridge built on time.
Yeah, so I will say, unfortunately, they've put us in a really unfortunate position because I have confirmed that this is the only change that's being requested at this time. However, if we don't agree to this change, then there's a likelihood that they will put us through a full redesign, and there will be significantly more things that may come up through that will significantly delay the project and add a significant more redesign cost to it. So in a lesser of two evils situation, this is a minor change. It does have ripple effects though, because you change the design and then the whole thing has to change.
Yeah.
Because the project has already been bid, we're already into this process. So it's not a minor change, but this is the least amount of change that we're able to that we're being asked to make in order to keep the project on track.
Feels a little like blackmail? Nice little bridge there. Shame of the word to change. Fine. I understand what you're doing. It doesn't feel kosher. Yeah.
I have been on more calls than on the insurance calls related to this change, trying to advocate, and this is the best that we can manage at this point without significantly adding time and cost delays to this project.
I understand. Understood.
Jim?
Based on this change, is there any other agency that might want to have another review, seeing that things are changing? Does it need to go through any of those other groups that need to stamp it?
So there was a question as to whether this went through the tribal cultural review, which we do have confirmation from that review. This woman, Hannah, from back in April, had confirmed that the depiction of the Native American dwellings was fine. So that seems to be fine, but in terms of any other changes, I'm told that this is the only change that is being requested.
But I'm saying it won't need to go back to Amtrak and PennDOT.
Well, this is
This is
PennDOT.
PennDOT, but the other, like the Norfolk Southern people and the
6
utility
month.
people, and nobody else needs to see this change, right?
Right, this is a design change. This is being required by the Cultural Resources Division of PennDOT. This is not a material change to Amtrak, their right-of-way, or the utility companies. This is a material treatment.
Great.
Yeah.
But I guess it's fair to say that our main contractor hasn't bid out the part, when it's building this metal or.
Oh, no, he has to make changes to the fabricator.
Right, but they haven't started building it or something like that.
No.
Because sometimes these changes come so late in a project that, it's.
I mean, the benefit is that, yes, we are still so early in the project that it's not like the fabricator has already made these metal finishes. So it's just a matter of getting the specs then to the fabricator because the contractor has already teed everything up, as I understand it. So there's, like I said, there's ripple effects throughout this whole thing.
It's a tricky situation because he's already contracted with them, so they can, charge as much as they want for this, but I'm sure they have a relationship and, they won't do that. But
Yeah, but yes, this does represent change orders and there are additional fees associated with that, so it's a domino effect.
I know, well, the only thing you can hope is that this is less expensive than stainless steel, but probably not.
Is this the scaffolding or is it like which parts of the bridge is it?
So this is the fencing
The fencing?
and the railings. So the fencing, so the portion of so you have the stone masonry bridge and then you have the railings that are on top of it that are your fall protection. And then you have the railings on either side of the actual bridge itself. So where the masonry ends, you have the railing kind of along the embankment there. That's not necessarily directly over the right of way. Like the handrails, yeah.
All right, so
It's purely aesthetic.
It's cultural. So,
Yeah, it's purely aesthetic.
we will
Someone's
be,
getting paid to do this to us.
Yeah.
Okay, just so I can confirm that, yeah.
Council's action down the line will be to approve the change to the budget, and we will be paying hopefully 5% in the end, 5% of the design changes.
You did the quick math, how much was that?
$440.
Well,
If we have to pay 5%, if we're paying more. Yeah.
That's
the current.
That's of the design changes.
Yeah, well, the
Yeah.
other stuff is covered 100%
Should be
construction,
covered,
right? So, okay, I don't think there's another role for council at this time. We hope Maggie can continue the negotiations and resolve this expeditiously.
So the only then question that I have is, I'm sorry, I said 8,300.
Ooh,
83.
okay, 415.
Look at that, we just saved $25.
The only other input that I would request is if there is a preference between the black powder coat or the semi-gloss. Jeff, I don't know if you want to weigh
I think we will allow
maintenance preference.
somebody else to make that decision.
Yeah. I mean, they're both paint, right?
Yes.
So they're gonna
Just a
need
very,
paint maintenance.
Shall I ask ChatGPT?
yeah, the powder coat, is a much more, it's a very tough application, it holds up great over time. The issue with powder coat is maintenance. Your typical can of spray paint is about $4 to $6. A can of spray paint and powder coat is about $35. Versus your just standard semi-gloss black paint that we can keep touched up year round, But, it depends on, outweighing the cost of maintenance, of ongoing maintenance, powder coat would hold up a lot longer until we had to perform maintenance, but when we do, it will cost more.
Why don't you think about it and make a recommendation? We will welcome your recommendation down the line.
Did VSBA have a thought, or they don't?
No, and PennDOT at this point is actually waiting for council to weigh in, so I do actually.
Oh, you need an answer?
Yeah, I do need an answer.
Can we give,
You just
defer to
authorize,
Jeff
yeah,
and
we'll
then say what
authorize.
Jeff says?
We'll put it on you, Jeff.
If there's no strong preference.
Yeah. What do we know about paint? We'll authorize you to make this decision. If you want to flip a coin, go ahead.
I would just go with the powder coat then, just because it'll hold up.
Okay.
You know, it's very, if there's a lot of sun up there, it'll just, the bridge will look its best for a little while.
Okay, cool. Are we good with powder coat then?
Sure.
Okay. All right, I'll keep you updated.
I hope so.
I'll keep you updated regarding what I find out about the reimbursement and confirm then what our budget numbers end up looking like. But if I have your blessing, then I will go ahead and confirm that with VSBA so that we can make these changes to satisfy PennDOT's requirements so that we can not hold up this project.
Yeah, let's not hold up the project.
Great, thank you.
All right.
I suspect this won't be the last time we run into a glitch on this
Well,
project.
Yeah, you won't, it is.
Don't say that.
It is.
I hope it goes well for
I'm sure we'll proceed.
Only one thing goes wrong. I said that to Mike about his wedding, only one thing goes wrong. Everything's gonna go
All
wrong.
we have to do is change the paint job.
Yeah.
Okay. Committee reports, F&A?
Sure. All right, we had no discussion items this month. We did get another report from Todd Bressie, who's working on the recodification of the zoning code, the neutral zoning recodification. He has been, he's been working a lot faster than I thought he was going to. He anticipates having a first draft as soon as tomorrow, after which they'll start doing some testing. I think it's going to be, or he said Maggie and Kevin will start taking a look at it, running recent projects through it to see what the ease of use is and that they're getting the same results and all that. He also said this, the work on this is virtually done, and it's not going to interfere with any of the other things we're asking the planning commission to do. He wanted us specifically to know that the zoning explorations we're asking planning commission to do are not going to be delayed by this.
Right, and I think the hope is that might come before council by the end of the year, because this should be, it's content neutral, so it'll take some time to look over, but it should not be controversial. I hope we can deal with it fairly quickly. And I know there's council interest in moving it along, so it's good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? No. Okay, infrastructure.
So I'd be curious to hear how the paving project went. I assume it's done at this point.
They finished up all their work about a month or so ago. We had a couple punch list items that they addressed, so we're just wrapping up all the rest of the paperwork, all the rest of the closeout documents, and we'll be totally done fairly soon.
Great.
Okay, public health and safety?
Our one action item was we voted to recommend joining the appeal for the PUC petition denial. We had two main discussion items. One was the traffic calming policy. We provided an update on that. That's now being reviewed by Montgomery County Planning Commission and our engineer and our fire company. And it'll come back to public health and safety in October, and then it'll come to FNA in October, maybe. That's the plan. And then Assistant Manager Pisano gave an update on the rental inspection program, and so we kind of talked through that in detail. Staff is planning to give a prepare a proposal to present to council in October. Oh, and the Shade Tree Commission is preparing for their November 15th tree planting day. So they still need volunteers for that.
Okay. Thank you. Any new business, old business, comments for the council?
I just want to give a big congratulations to Maggie for, she was recognized by Greater Valley Forge TDM as a top 40 TDM professional under 40. So I just wanted to give kudos to her for that recognition. And so just, go ahead.
Oh, okay, so that recognition ceremony will be on Monday, and Jean will be joining me because GVF will also be recognizing Narberth Borough as one of their newer partners. So we're glad to be part of their organization and part of the larger transportation network and advocating for good transportation policy for all. And Jean,
I also just wanted to give a reminder about the Sabine Park movie night on Saturday at 7 p.m.
I want to give a little plug. This week, some of you may have seen on my Facebook page, you had 2 members of at this table who were on the Hill in Washington fighting for public transportation and healthcare. And I was there for fighting for healthcare, and we're in the mix fighting for everybody's transportation and good health. So.
We've got the local Democratic Party headquarters right now in Narberth, temporarily. People are talking about Spirit Halloween. It's basically Spirit Halloween, but for the election season. We have a temporary election office, but we had one of our state Supreme Court justices here today speaking, and we will continue to be. There continue to be public figures coming in and out of Narberth over the next couple months. So if you have an interest in politics, this will be an opportunity to meet various figures. Just keep an eye out. And the office is right where Swan Dancewear and Village Treats used to be. It's the current campaign. We need canvassers, so if you're interested in getting out the vote for the Democrats, help us out. Anything else? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Oh, there will be no executive session after this meeting, I don't think.
I did actually want to raise one matter with you regarding personnel.
There will be an executive session to discuss personnel matters. After this meeting, we will not reconvene for a vote. Okay.
I move to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of adjourning? Okay, we are adjourned. Presumably Ira wants to adjourn too.
I seconded it, so.
Yeah.